our next presentation, and Catherine Castleman from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, will be our introducer.
He's from Charleston. That's right.
Yeah, we could eat food from each other's gardens within our 200-mile radius.
So I was trying to dig up some damaging information on Dan because I wanted to make it into a roast, but I don't think you're going to have rotisserie Schlossberg tonight because he's not there. He's just a really excellent person, and the first time I met him, I was just struck by how friendly and outgoing he was, and thought, you know, this is a really great person who takes care of his friends, and he knows how to like make people feel really special. And then I heard him play piano, and I just hit the floor because I couldn't understand how someone who has so much kindness and approachability could also have so much talent. But I guess that's something that we learn a lot at Yale. So it might seem to an outside observer when you see Dan play or perform that he has a natural gift. But most of his friends know that his natural gift comes from many, many long hours in practice rooms at Sprague, or on stage at Woolsey, or in the pit at the UT. And his dedication to excellence is really clear when you figure out how much time he spent developing this skill. So Dan was already a prodigy back in high school, and online you can find lots of articles about this if you're interested, and radio interviews and such. And I've had the privilege of watching him develop his talent here at Yale, right here in the common room with many recitals and performances of original music that are sung by his operatically inclined friends, and in your role as conductor in many musicals, like Little Night Music I saw, and the weird one about the French nuns, and most recently Carousel. So it's a wide range. And so Dan is always willing to accompany a friend if they have a musical theater audition, or in my case, he accompanied me in a jazz set once, which was really fun. And he's the first to praise other members of an ensemble that he's part of. I think he's one of those rare and talented musicians who delights in taking the back seat to help other musicians shine. And that's really special. So it's clear you love the process of creative collaboration, and that's something that I think will serve you well in the future. So my memories of Dan after graduation will include our early bonding over Sondheim's lyrics, our late night procrastination sessions in Vanderbilt, when we Googled cute animals and communist humor and exotic fruits. And the one evening that you read a passage from Finnegan's Wake, and he read it in this very slow and mystical voice, and then we were all kind of just mesmerized, and he said, you know, one day I'm going to write an opera to accompany this text. And I'm holding you to that. I know you should do it. And so I think I'm almost positive that we will see his name in lights one day, and we can all be thrilled to say that we knew him when.
Well, that was way too kind for, I don't know. So I want to share with you a little bit what I've been sort of working on for the past few months and in the summer. And this is kind of a difficult thing to talk about just because people have sort of vast amounts of difference in their experience with music. Some people might be musicians themselves or know nothing about music. So I had to kind of find a way to talk about this that most people can understand. So that being said, if I say anything that completely boggles you, just feel free to raise your hand and ask me what that means. My senior project, as I'm an intensive music major, we have the option of doing either composition or a paper. So I elected to do the composition because I would probably be doing something anyway. My composition is for orchestra. It's for the YSO, which is a really awesome opportunity. And I guess I'm going to start with basically like why I'm doing this. And as a composer, writing for orchestra is kind of like the ultimate challenge. It's incredibly difficult. There are so many things that are going on. There are endless possibilities in terms of, say there are 50 musicians in the orchestra. You can do whatever you want with any of these musicians, combine them in various ways. And also the other reason that I'm writing this is because I had the opportunity. The conductor of the YSO sort of invited me to write a piece for them, so I really couldn't turn it down. But yeah, I guess the main reason is that it's kind of like this Mount Everest. It's like one of the highest things that you can do, and this is my first orchestral piece of this size. It's going to be about 20 or 25 minutes. So that's a big challenge. So this summer I went to Switzerland and Germany to sort of get as much background knowledge and research and go to concerts and everything as I could. And when I was in Switzerland, I was at this music archive called the Paul Sacher Stiftung, which is probably the largest collection of 20th century music in the world, all the music manuscripts by composers. And so when I was at the Sacher Stiftung, I studied a piece by Luciano Berio called Sinfonia. And this piece is for a large orchestra, and I'm actually going to play an excerpt from it later. And it really, studying it and reading about how he conceived about this piece really inspired me in my piece in many different ways. And so I'll talk about that a little later. And then after I went to this archive, I was in Berlin for a couple months, and it really, it was really awesome. I mean, Berlin is a great city, and there is so much artistically and musically going on there, and even just like the physical space of the city, in that it's like caught between various worlds of like old world, Germany, and Nazi architecture and modern architecture all sort of overlapping. And that kind of landscape really inspired me in my piece as well, like juxtaposing various things and like having these different worlds of music colliding. Also, German music in general, when you think about a symphony or symphonic work, it's very, very difficult to escape the works of German composers, which is one of the reasons that I went to Switzerland and to Germany, is to sort of like come to terms with that. You have the names of Beethoven and Brahms and Wagner just like standing there as like bastions of this style, and you can't really ignore that. And sort of German music has taken this this almost hegemonic stance over the symphony orchestra, as I think I'll talk about a little later. But that's what I was kind of exploring when I was in Europe. And going on, yes, so problems that I sort of first had to initially overcome, and I'm still overcoming, are that experience. Like I have very little experience writing for orchestra. And writing for orchestra is extremely different from writing, say, for piano, is that you have to deal with, as I said, more amounts of instruments at once. And also one of the other things is sort of like the relevance of orchestral music today. Just symphony orchestras all over the world are facing economic downturns like anywhere else, but it's becoming increasingly more difficult to even conceive of having a work premiered by an orchestra. One of the composers that I was studying with this summer actually told a story about how when he was young, he's probably in his, he's 80 actually, he's 80 now, and when he was growing up, to make it as a composer in America meant that you had one new piece premiered by the New York Philharmonic every year. And now it's more like you're lucky if you ever get a piece premiered by the New York Philharmonic. They probably premiere one piece, or in the past 10 years, they've probably premiered, maybe you could count them on your fingers how many pieces they've done. So it's just like the composers are facing this big challenge of getting their work performed. So that's it. I mean, that wasn't much of a problem for me now, but more like the conceptual, like how do I go about writing a piece in a genre that's becoming more obsolete. In terms of approaches to writing this, sort of like what I was thinking about, as I was talking about before, sort of dealing with this Germanic tradition this huge dramatic tradition of the symphony. The Germans have sort of dominated the repertoire and also the historical narrative. They've sort of claimed this